But what happened was I was able to stop because my mother called my father, who I never knew, and said, Frank, if you don't take your son, he's out of hand, I'm going to send him to an orphanage. And so my father, who I never knew and I always wanted to be with my father, he took me in, which was like amazing. I was just so happy. I stopped doing paint varnish remover, and I just progressed with school. I progressed with doing really well in music, playing the bass guitar, upright bass. And everything was going good for a time, but it was hard because my father was an alcoholic. What alcoholics often do is they blame other people for their problems. They blame other people, and I used to do this. When I say they, I'm talking me. In fact, I still do it to some degree, just a heck of a lot less. Alcoholics, people that are addicted to anything, whether it's food, drugs, anything, tend to have this personality trait where, oh, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's because, my mother, the way I was raised, or because of my father, because I was in the wrong school, because my girlfriend rejected me, because my friends are really nasty to me. It was always everybody else's fault with me, and my father. So my father would do some really nasty things when he was really drunk, and he said one thing to me that really I allowed to affect my whole life. He said it, but I allowed it to affect my whole life. I've only just realized that now within the last couple of years. So I'm 42 years old. Can you imagine living 40 years thinking my parents destroyed my life? And I only just figured it out a couple of years ago that they didn't. But my father did say this one thing to me that I allowed to destroy my life. He was just drunk, and he was sick. He was talking about, I could have had a degree, son. I could have had a business. I could have had this. I could have had that. He told me what all his dreams were. He said, that's what I was going to be when I was a kid. He told me all his dreams. And then he goes, man, remember, he's drunk, right? And then he says, but then, son, on the day you were born, that was the day my dreams died. Yeah, it is. I know. It is it's a difficult thing for a kid to hear, right? But see, the truth is that many of you kids, I'm sorry for calling you kids, many of you guys have had stuff like this said to you and worse. And that's the truth. I don't have the worst story by any means. Some of you had nastier stuff happen to you, not necessarily just with your parents. But as a result of this, of whatever the heck happened to you, you get to make a choice, and you get to make a decision on how your life's going to go. The problem is I made a bad choice. See, when my father said that, when he said that to me, I could have just said, well, he's drunk, he's a loser, and he's just being a drunk. That's one thing I could have said, true? I could have just said that, but I didn't say that. I said, he's my father. He's the person I love the most on the planet. I want to be like Dad. I love my dad so much. So I made a decision that what he said was true. And based on that one statement, and based on what I made it mean, I decided for the rest of my life to destroy my life. It was like I had this weird battle going on in my life. I'm going to be totally successful to prove my parents that I was worthy of being alive. You get that? Does that make sense? I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to make $100,000 plus in business, which I did. I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to own a Jaguar, which I did. I'm going to buy my own house. I grew up on welfare. I'm going to have the perfect wife. She'll be in a millionaire family. And I did. I had that. And I'm doing all these things, being a workaholic, doing whatever to try to prove to the world that I am somebody and I'm worth being alive. That I'm worth being here even though I destroyed my father's life. Did I really destroy my father's life? Totally I didn't. Any excuse to do. When your life sucks and you're drinking and you're pissing, excuse my language, sorry. When you're drinking away your life, you'll blame it on anyone around you. And you'll say, come up with whatever story you want. Because nobody wants to get responsible that, hey, my life sucks and I did it to myself. Nobody wants to own that. Rather say, hey, my son was born when he shouldn't have been. Oh, it's because I got a twin sister that my parents love more than me. But here's the thing, I'm hammering on this because this is probably the most important message, is that we have choices. And just because something happens in our life doesn't mean that your life has to go a certain way. I made this choice. I'm going to try to prove to the world that I'm totally successful, but I also had this other decision I made. Well, if I destroyed my father's life and his dreams never came true because of me, then I don't deserve my dreams to come true. Doesn't that make sense? It's like a possible way to look at that. So then what I would do is I would be successful and then destroy it. And then be successful and destroy it. And you know, here I am, age 42. I don't own a house. I don't have a wife. I barely pay the bills. I mean, 42 years old. I've destroyed everything. And I'm grateful that I get to come here and share, you know, my story and all that. Maybe help prevent it for some people. And more importantly, really prevent it for those of you that are hopelessly engaged in some kind of bad habit, whether it's bullying or some kind of other thing like food or drugs or anything. You want to stop it. You know you can't stop. You've already tried. And you know for certain that a guy like me or anyone really can't help you because you're different. Your problem's different. You've already tried. You know nothing will work. That's what I'm really here for. Bottom line is, I made that decision and I did really well in music to try to compensate. I was in York University jazz program, grade 11. I was a professional musician, paid by my own music teacher to play in his band, grade 11. Did really well. Swore I'd never drink alcohol. Had one drink. That one drink became the gateway to all kinds of other drugs because no drug would really quite do it for me. And eventually I became sexy. That's me. Wow. I'm in York University. I'm fast forwarding, right? I'm in York University and I'm partying a lot. Never thought I'd do crack cocaine. But then something happens. I need drugs. Can't find weed. Someone gives me a line of cocaine mixed in a joint. I liked it so much. Had some more. Got hooked on the crack pipe within 2 weeks. 2 weeks during the spring break at York University, I destroyed everything and spent all the money the government gave me to go to university, all the money the government gave me to pay for my living expenses, and spent it all in 2 weeks. Had to get a job as a salesperson. Oh yeah, and I was arrested by a SWAT team, just like that, 6 people, bashed down the doors of a crack house. 2 weeks time, trying that one drug.